Everybody, welcome back to Pathway to Leadership. Sorry I ran 2 minutes late. We didn't hit the 3-minute mark, so that's good. So I just want to say hi and welcome back to the channel. And if you're new here, please subscribe so you can get back into the chat. You can talk about whatever is on your mind. So look, before we get started, I actually had everything mapped out tonight. I really wanted to go into the 3 pillars, and we're going to talk about it, the 3 pillars of leadership. But I think it would be better if we start morphing over into, well, I'm thinking Thursday nights need to just be an open mic. And if you've never been to an open mic means there's a stage, there's a microphone. If you want to play guitar, if you want to sing, you want to do karaoke, whatever's on your mind, you know, you can step up on that stage and actually start a discussion. And you know what? I think I'd actually like to be a moderator on Thursday nights and bring up what's on your minds instead of trying to keep everything micro encapsulated into one subject. Now, moving forward, I think it's good to have a subject. Let's work off the subject because tonight we're going to talk about the 3 pillars. But I think let's let it morph into open mic. You know, if you've got something to talk about and, you know, being a strong community like we are at Pathway to Leadership, I think it's really important that you have an opportunity and a stage, if you want to say, to be able to say, hey, you know, let's talk about something else that's really on my mind, because I think that's what we're here for. We're not here to just sit there and, you know, talk about the same old things or the video that we saw earlier, or, you know, let's broaden it. I am missing a camera. I cannot believe I'm missing a camera. Let's see. What camera am I missing? All right, so we're stuck with this camera tonight, unfortunately. Oh, wait a minute. What's this? Okay, that's a different view. All right. Well, at least it shows my logo. There it is. So, So that's what I'd like to start doing is on Thursday nights, let's just make it an open mic night at Pathway to Leadership. I don't know. Let me know in the chat if you think that's a good idea. If it is a good idea, and I see enough of that in the chat that it is a good idea, then that's what we're going to do. Because you know what? It's all about you. It's not about me. I just want this to be a place that we can all get together and be a strong community of leaders. So go ahead and chime in, and I'll review that in a moment. So there's three main pillars that leaders need to rely on continuously in the workplace. And let's talk about the first one. The first one is planning. And I'm just going to read right out here from my notes. It says, good leadership rests on the foundation of effective planning. To lead your team to success, you must possess the ability to think strategically, anticipate challenges, and envision a prosperous future. It all begins by formulating a clear and compelling long-term vision. We hear this constantly, don't we? That one of the key elements of leadership is having a vision that people can latch onto. Interesting how it's part of the three pillars, isn't it? So take a moment to visualize what your company will look like 3 years from now. Envision the growth, the impact, and the achievements. Once you have this long-term vision, it's time to break it down into smaller, manageable chunks. And I'm really excited. So I'm going to stumble over my words because my brain is working faster than my mouth tonight. And I don't know if you've ever gotten that excited, because I have been lately. And later on in the video or in tonight's broadcast, I'm going to tell you why I'm so excited. Some of you might already know, those that follow me on social media, but I can't wait to break the news later. So stick around. So when you're planning, you have to look at what are those short-term and long-term goals that you want your department, company, team, whoever's following you to achieve. You have to come up with something. And I'm going to give you a piece of advice. And you've heard this many times. Some of you have heard it personally. If it's not on paper, it's vapor. Well, I've come to enjoy that term so much because I tell everyone, if you want your dreams to come true, write them down. Because if you don't write them down, they're just ideas. They're just thoughts. But when you actually put them in writing and put them on a piece of paper, they become real. And when you do that for your team, they become real. They become tangible. It's actually something that we can all get together and start wrapping our heads around and working towards a common goal. But don't forget, for every major goal, there's minor goals that have to be achieved along the way in order to get there. So reverse engineer your goals. Nothing wrong with that. Reverse engineer. And what that means is take that final goal and start thinking backwards. What's the last step to achieve it? What's the step before that that's going to achieve it? And reverse engineer. When you force your mind to work in a different linear approach, you'll be amazed at how many little short-term goals there are to achieve that major goal. And what's great is when you back that up to where you are, there's so much to celebrate along the way. And we forget that as leaders. When you're always focused on the end game, you stop realizing the game that you're in and how to play it. A good analogy is darts. If anyone's played darts, I've played for many years. There's a game called cricket. You play for points, closeout. Anyways, the end result, I'm not going to explain the whole game to you, but there's two types of players. Those that lead and those that chase. I don't like to chase people. If I'm having a hard time hitting a certain number on the dartboard, I go to another number and I start to eliminate that number. Let everyone else chase us. I'm not going to chase other people. And I think where that analogy lies is the fact that as soon as you drop your guard and start chasing for something that is not quite achievable at that moment, you lose sight of all the things that are achievable right now. So reinvent your long-term goals, reverse engineer them, and break them down into small parts. Okay? And those small parts, you'd be amazed when you can turn around and say, you know what? I'm getting nowhere over here on this part, but I can move over here and we can accomplish this little mini goal. And if we just accomplish this mini goal, I can check that off. We can celebrate that. That's out of the way. We can always come back to those others. Always with the big goal in mind, but reverse engineer and get your way there. By setting these milestones along your journey, you provide your team with a roadmap to success. Ensure that all your plans are smart, specifical. Is that even a word? Let me know. I don't even know if specifical is a word, but I just made it up. Make sure it's specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. That's SMART. S-M-A-R-T. Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. This approach guarantees clarity and enables you to track progress effectively. That's pretty crazy. That is, and that's only one pillar. You know, a lot of times we end up in leadership roles that we kind of feel disorganized. We kind of feel like we're trying to find the direction. We're trying to feel like, you know, we're paying attention to everything else than what's most important. Planning is the number one pillar out of the three. Let me know if any of you have been in a leadership role, whether it be personally with your family, whether it be anything that's happened in your life where, you know, you just thought that, you know, if I had a better plan, if I would have taken time to plan this out, I would have had a better outcome. I'm sure there'd be stories. So the next pillar, can anybody guess? It's the pillar of measuring. You did all that work into planning. And you're planning, you get this great blueprint of where you want to take your department, where you want to take your team, where you want to be yourself, and have people follow you to that end result. Well, what's really interesting is you have to have ways of measuring. So I'm going to read again, and I'm sorry. This is really important. I just don't want to ad-lib it, you know? So effective measurement is the key to understanding what's truly working and what needs to be improved. It provides valuable insights that guide your decision-making projects. Metrics are not just numbers. Yeah, we can just turn around and we can grab numbers. And here's the thing. Don't get caught up in statistics. So I can show you, and you can actually look this up online, how statistics work. You have a graph, you have a grid, and the number 1 to 10 on one side, 1 to 20 on the other side, and you can flip that graph any which way. But the bottom line is, if you're good enough, you can make any number and a list of statistics back up anything that you're trying to get across to anyone else. So don't worry about statistics. Worry about true measurement. And a lot of true measurements are done by asking yes or no questions. Did I achieve X? Yes or no? See, where statistics comes in is they start going into, well, you got this percentage and that over that. And so I'm gonna bring up sales. Here's a good analogy. I have 4 salesmen. These 4 salesmen get leads every day, inbound leads. And of course you want to track that because of the marketing dollars that are invested into getting those leads. Salesman A gets 50 leads. Salesman B gets 100 leads. C gets 75 leads. And then you have the one salesman that got 1 lead. So, and I think you know where I'm going with this. So in all essence, if that one salesperson closed that 1 lead within the same time frame, that salesman has a 100% closure rate. Wow, who gets a 100% closure rate? Now, do the people with more leads have that same opportunity of getting 100%? Of course not. So be careful with statistics and percentages. They don't always tell the full story. You have to dig down. So measure effectively. Measure realistically. I speak a lot better when I'm not reading off of that screen over there, and I know. But when you're measuring progress, when you're measuring someone's ability to do whatever tasks that they've been assigned, make sure that you're measuring on a ground level that is appropriate for what's going on. And I know that the sales analogy is a little extreme, but it can be true. You know, when somebody has a higher lead vol, let's look at this. It comes down to probabilities. So let's say company A has 10 million companies and company B has 1,000 customers. Company A, with all of those customers, loses a certain percentage of those customers. Company B could lose the same amount for the same reasons, and yet the percentages are skewed because the base is different. So just be careful. Just be careful. Scott Finger says, I have a mentor in a previous company. I was excited and happy to train. I realized my plan was the seat of my pants. Yeah. Yeah, I get that. I get that a lot. You know, right. You're just trying to get through and do the best that you can. And I think I'm reading that right. You're doing the best that you can, and you're flying by the seat of your pants, not really knowing if you're doing well, if you're not doing well, and you're not actually, you know, getting the benefit of being measured or knowing how to measure. So yeah, I get that. I get that. So what do you guys think? You think measuring is something that we really do need to do, right? I mean, honestly, let's think about it. You know, you can have the most brilliant plan in the world, but if you're not constantly measuring, let's take World War II. I would say World War I, but that was just a mess, right? You'd have to agree with me on that. That was just everybody fighting just to fight. And I know I'm going to get some comments on that, but, you know, forgive me on that terminology. But World War II, we actually had a lot of strategy. We actually had a lot of thought process in World War II. And a lot of these plans that our generals were coming up with and, you know, sending our soldiers to the front line to try to gain ground, you know, you have to think, how are they measuring? And I'm sure someone on the channel right now, because I know there's a whole lot more people watching than chatting, and that's okay. Hey, if you're watching and not chatting, that's great. I'm not going to force you into it, but if you're trying to chat, you have to subscribe to the channel. And I think in about 1 minute or two, your chats will start to show through. So go ahead and subscribe. Okay, you get nothing to lose. You can be part of the community, part of the Pathway to Leadership community. So go ahead and subscribe and start chatting. But you have to ask yourself, how were these, with the lack of communication and how long communication took, how were they evaluating if their plan was working or not? You have to think about that. And then you, in your own departments and evaluating your team, think about this. How long are you going to wait before you start to measure whether or not you're being effective? What do you wait, a month, a year? How long is too long? And I think that's a fair question. How long is too long? And then how much is over evaluating? You know, you're micromanaging the entire process. I mean, it's tough. There's no easy answer, right? You over evaluate, you get catatonic. You measure too much, and then you're course correcting every 5 seconds. Take a ship at sea. You're trying to cross the Atlantic Ocean and fighting the wind that's sailing you along. You have to make minor course corrections. So you are evaluating, but there are times where you just have to tack. And those that aren't sailors, tacking means you move that ship left, and then you move it hard to the right, and you gather that wind wherever you can get it. And sometimes you put your sails up and you let that wheel go. And you try to figure out where the current is taking you, which is a whole different analogy. You're no longer relying on the wind, you're running on the current. So I think leadership has a lot to think about with that variable also. Are you trying to find the wind that's going to push you? Or can you line that ship up and see where the current is going to move you without the wind? Evaluating. I know I kind of crossed over on this, but we'll talk about this a little bit. So the last pillar we're going to talk about is evaluation. But you know what? Before we go there, I want to tell you something. I'm gonna go ahead and switch over, and hopefully you can see me. All right. I'm going to do my own commercial. I'm so excited. Hey, for the first time, I can say Pathway to Leadership book, the training manual, the leadership training manual, is not only available on Amazon, it is now available on Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, and many of the fine retail stores. I am so excited. I've heard it on the radio so many times by different authors. I just wanted to bring it out tonight. That's my special news. I was notified earlier today that I've been accepted at Barnes & Nobles and Books A Million and many of the fine real bookstores out there. So I'm just giddy. This is crazy. So, hey, if you want to get the book, go ahead down in the description below. Hit that link. That's going to take you to the Pathway to Leadership bookstore. You can order it direct from there. And I really do appreciate your support. But I was just floored. This just came out Friday. This past Friday. And today's what? Thursday. So in less than a week, Barnes & Noble has picked me up. And Books A Million has picked me up. And the Pathway to Leadership book, I hope, is well on its way to success. I've already started working on my next book, which is going to accompany that, and I'm really excited. So, to all of you, thank you so much for your support. If it weren't for the people that are here in this chat, here on the channel, those of you that know me personally, that have helped me on the way, I have to say thank you. Thank you. It has been a long road. And if it wasn't for you, and I'm talking to you personally, if it wasn't for you, none of this would be happening. I appreciate every single one of you. So, enough of that before I start getting teary-eyed. Let's switch that camera over. And let's go to the last pillar. And that's evaluating. And again, I'm just going to read here. Lastly, we have evaluation, a vital component of effective leadership. Evaluation. It involves regularly assessing employees' goals. And I think it's important that we recognize that. You know, we're painting the big picture. We're painting those minor goals along the way. But guess what? As leaders, we need to start setting individual goals and helping everybody on our team hit their individual goals and show that they can actually achieve. And what they are achieving is contributing to the minor goals and the major goals. By providing feedback, both positive and constructive, you demonstrate your commitment to their growth and success. But remember, evaluation is not just a one-way street. It's crucial to create an environment where open and honest communication occurs. In other words, feedback. You have to have feedback. Can't be one way. You didn't hit your sales quota. You didn't hit your product line development quota. You didn't put out enough cars this month. Tires are wrong. Too many. It can't be like that. Okay? Because when there's a two-way communication, you might learn a lot from your team members about things that are getting in the way, and then we can talk about the problem-solving video at that point. Okay? But for now, we're going to talk about evaluating. You're not going to know unless you ask the right questions and unless you actually start a relationship with your employees where you have that two-way communication so you know exactly what's going on. One-on-one meetings with each member of your team are an excellent opportunity to build strong relationships, offer support, and address any concerns. These meetings foster a sense of belonging and encourage your team members to bring their best selves to work. And isn't that that's the meaning of leadership, right? We want to grow our team members. We want to develop ourselves and others, learn and teach. We want to continue that. That's why we're here. That's why we're in the positions that we are. That's why, whether you're in a position or not, if you're in a leadership role, that's what we do. Consistency and persistence is key when it comes to making evaluations a priority. By investing time and effort into evaluating your team, you not only demonstrate your dedication to their development, but also provide them with valuable insights for improvement. It's important to remember that evaluation should be a two-way street. Encourage your team members to share their thoughts, ideas, and concerns openly. By creating a safe and supportive environment, you foster a culture of growth and continuous improvement. And that's the name of the game, right? Scott Finger says the key word here is constructive. Yes. Yes, constructive. You know, identifying where someone is going wrong is easy. This is just like you've identified the problem. We can all run around. Oh, that's broken. That's bad. That needs to be fixed. This needs to be fixed. And sometimes as leaders, we do the same thing with our employees or our team members. We concentrate too much on their failures, inadequacies, and not concentrate more on the solutions. You know, if you put more effort into solutions rather than identifying issues, think of where you'd be. It's a hard thing to do. I'm not snowballing you. I struggle with this myself. Okay? Because remember, when your team members are having issues, when your team members are not living up to expectations, it causes pain to you, the leader. And what do we do naturally as humans? We try to eliminate pain as fast as possible. We don't want to live the long term with pain. And then you have to take a deep breath and say, you know what? Maybe as a leader, if I do a better job developing this individual, it might make the pain last longer, but in the end result, maybe I can eliminate that pain in the long run and it'll never show itself again. Hard to digest. Because as humans, we want to eliminate pain as soon and as quickly as possible. And even though you might have all the answers, I'm not saying you do, I'm not saying you don't, but just take the situation. Even though you have all the answers, 90% of the time, you have to teach the answers. Not just say them, not just give them, but teach them. And I think I want to leave that with you this evening. I'm going to keep the chat open. As a matter of fact, I'm going to actually stay up here on camera for a little while so we can keep the chat going. But I want you to remember one thing. You might have the answer. Teach the answer. Saying it, telling it, showing it, delivering it might not have the same effect. That's what I want you to leave with tonight. Teach the answers. All right, I'm John with Pathway to Leadership. Don't forget, drop down below. Get your copy of Pathway to Leadership. I don't know when the price is going to go up, but if things keep going the way they're going, I'm sure Amazon's going to say, we need to do a price increase, so get it now. It's only $12.95. Invest in yourself, $12.95. And that's at the time of this recording. So, you guys have a great night. You enjoy yourselves. I'm keeping the chat open. And I will see you next time on Pathway to Leadership.